You're listening to Otto D, coming at you live.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening tonight to the Otto D Show here on Dave Pratt's Star Worldwide Network Studios, broadcasting from high above Camelback Road in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. I am your host, Otto Daniolo, and this evening my guest is scheduled to be Arizona-based actor Sean Dillingham. We'll see if he shows up. You've probably seen him on TV, considering all of his screen credits, which include network television appearances on The Night Shift, Longmire, Brooklyn 9-9, which I thought was pretty awesome. All kinds of stuff. And he's actually acted alongside Kevin Costner, Tony Danza, which, Jane Seymour, Patrick Duffy, but Don Ameche, and Stacy Keache. I mean, wow. That's got to be cool. Hopefully I'll dig some stories out of him on some of that stuff. But before we bring him up, I'm going to play a cut from the Fervor Records catalog, a band, one of my favorite artists, actually. Her name is Courtney Cotter King. I don't know why I was going to say Courtney Cotter Cox. Courtney Cox. It must be Friends. It's TV. The whole thing's just like bleeding into my brain. But at any rate, this tune is called Ground. So I'll have Sean on right after this cut. Check it out.
So high, it was hard to climb down. It's no coincidence, and now we learned and found how fragile love is. I stood in water too deep, a heart too full for lungs to breathe, and I wanna be your but we couldn't find ground.
Eventually I speak my mind, but I struggle sometimes. When I face your sweet face that I loved apart of time, I stood in water too deep, a heart too full for lungs to breathe, and I wanna be your everything, but we couldn't find ground.
I gave your heart back to you for someone else to fill it too. Your heart's too much for giving love when I am not for you. I stood in water too deep, a heart too full for lungs to breathe, and I wanna be your everything, but we couldn't find ground. We couldn't find ground.
We couldn't find ground.
We couldn't find ground.
Oh, we couldn't find ground.
We couldn't find ground.
You're listening to Otto D, coming at you live.
And that was Ground by Courtney Cotter King here on the Otto D Show, which is brought to you tonight by the wonderful people at Fervor Records, who you can check out at fervorrecords.com, and that's FERVOR-records.com. And if you'd like to be on the show or reach out to me, just contact me at ottod.com, that's OTTOD.com, or download the Otto D app in your app store and hit the contact button there. So without further ado, as they say, let me welcome to the show Mr. Sean Dillingham. How are you doing, Sean?
How are you, Otto?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream, man.
You are living the dream. In fact, with all the dreams you've already lived, you were just telling me about something you got going on that's pretty cool. Can we start with that?
Sure.
You are in Tucson in the middle of a movie that's you're going to be working on for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm working with Aidan Quinn, who was in Legends of the Fall. If you go back even further, Benny and June, Desperately Seeking Susan. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, we're working down there, and I should be wrapped first week of September. But that's fantastic. I get to play a radio personality.
No, you got my job in the movies?
I get to use my Rush Limbaugh voice. I get to go, love is the only human emotion we cannot fake.
Not fake.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah, that's it, man. It's a blast, and I'm having a great time. Good time.
That, this is a big time project, obviously, and you've worked on big time projects and little time projects from film to TV. What environment's your favorite one to walk in on?
As far as size,
more like in terms of how the process works, what your role ends up being. I think like on an indie project or even a local commercial, it's a lot looser. The people don't know what they're doing quite as well.
Not necessarily.
Potentially.
No. I've worked on small things. I've worked on big budget feature film things, big television shows, and I've seen professionalism and lack of professionalism on both levels.
At every level.
It just depends. I just did a short film the other day in town here it's going to be tremendous. And these guys were just, like they say, running and gunning. So,
well, what film is that? Can you mention?
It's a short film called Soda Works.
Okay.
And it's really cute. It should be a Pixar film, but it's about the soda fountain drinks that you go and get, and the little workers that actually live inside.
Okay.
And when somebody comes up and gets multiple flavors, and they're like, "It's a kamikaze!" and you've got all these guys scrambling around. It's really cute. It's really, really, really fun. So
and is it animated at all?
No, it's all us. Me with a hard hat, kind of being like, "Alrighty, here we go, buddy."
Well, can I ask you? I think I'm a big fan of the local independent film community, so
Sure.
I would really like to ask you who the writer is, or who the producer is, or who the director is. Just to give them props.
I'll give you the production company's called Wham Productions. Guys
Okay.
out of the East Valley, William Bradford and
Okay.
Alex and Mikey and
Okay.
all those guys. And we shot it. There's a place on the west side now, run by a guy named Jared Wilson, called Pirate Studios. That fantastic facility right across from the state fairgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's I'm always moving and hustling. I'm in Tucson working on a big feature film, but I come back to do. I've actually been doing 3 films over the last 3 weeks. So I did that short film. I'm doing Tucson, and then I just shot another one for a group out of California called Echoes of Double Blind. God, I'm doing so much that I forget the Double Blind. It's about a family, a mother and a father, and the mom gets cancer, and the daughter gets the same kind of cancer, and the doctor subjects her to all these sort of trials, and come to find out he's a twisted guy, and that's me. Always the heavy. It's so funny because I do projects now, and my wife and my kids will ask me, "Do you die in this one?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
Again.
And they're like, "How'd you die in this one?" I'm like, "Well, it's sort of implied. You'll find out." So
That's funny. Well, do you prefer to be in comedy or in a straight part?
I've done so much comedy that and with commercials.
I was going to say your commercial reel is full of some great.
Yeah,
bits.
with the commercials, it's always you act like Bozo the Clown. You come on, you got 30 seconds. Hi, let me tell you why you should buy this.
Yeah.
And you don't have long, and it's always sort of big and over the top and comedic. But so I really like the film work, and I like the serious roles. I really do. It's more of a challenge to kind of contain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to realize and understand that if you just raise an eyebrow like this on screen, that can be huge.
Yeah.
Anybody can be big and over the top, but to really bring it down and learn things like not to blink. And I know that sounds strange, but if you and I are doing a scene and the camera's in my face, in real life we blink because we think it's sincerity. Otto, you have to understand that I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
Blink.
And we think we're exuding sincerity, but on film that weakens you. So you have to learn to go, "All right, Otto, here's the deal.
Right.
I'm not blinking."
Eyes wide open.
And I'm still not blinking.
That's right.
I mean, that kind of you learn little tricks like that. It's a whole new.
Well, there's a book, A Blink in the Eye, an editing reference, and a famous editor once said that when the actor blinks, the scene's done. Don't cut after that.
Sure.
You cut that millisecond, that frame before they blink.
Yeah.
Because it's a natural reference to I've spoken, I've watched you, I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah.
But if you're blinking all the time, that's kind of a bad
It's
rule.
terrible. Or the other pet peeve I have is when you see somebody shifting eyes. They're looking back and forth, this eye, and I'm like, stop it!
Yeah.
Stop studying their face.
Yeah.
Just find the camera and look at their eye that's closest to the camera, so your face shows properly.
Now, let me ask you these details, those kinds of details. Are these things that you noticed watching yourself, watching other actors, or being taught?
All the above.
Okay.
Watching other actors, reading books, watching videos. There's a great thing out. There's a great acting tool out for actors that I don't think they even realize, and that is if you go online and you look up BTS, behind the scenes, you can watch the behind the scenes footage from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, from The Hateful Eight, all these. You see the actors, and somebody's filming them act on set. That is like the greatest acting tool you could ever find.
No doubt.
I don't know why more people don't do that, but I'm always studying, and it's, I've done a lot, and I'm just getting to the point now where I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. I learned from a cinematographer a great trick. We were out in the desert, and they had what they call a bounce board or a reflector that hits the sun, and they put it on your face to light you up better. And you hold that, and then they say, look into the camera, and you're like, squint, squint, squinty, squint.
Right.
And I'm like, I just can't do it. And he goes, here's what you do. Close your eyes, look at the sun, keep your eyes closed for about 5 to 10 seconds, then come back, and your eyes will be adjusted. And I'm like, no, it won't. I look up at the sun, I come back, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's a genius. It worked.
Cool.
It was perfect. Little tricks like that
That's
I love.
a great trick.
It is. It's amazing. So you always ask, cinematographers, people on the set, little tips and tricks.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one of the movies you can watch on BTS or see bits of shot
you can
from.
see some behind the scenes.
I imagine you've seen the film.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think?
5 times.
I just saw it for the first time finally.
I loved it. I love that. I love that people are like, that's not how it happened. And Bruce Lee wouldn't have lost. And I'm like, do you not know that this is a movie? And it's sort of Tarantino's version of, this is what I think should have happened.
Right.
With the old Western guys in that era, and they should have come along and just beat the, and everybody's taking it so serious. And I'm like, relax.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought Brad Pitt was great. I just loved him in it. But I think the thing that struck me the most was that it seemed like every single shot was so beautiful. I mean, the time they spent for lighting and color of every little shot. It just every time an edit happened, it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Everything looked so incredible. And it just seems like that's not all that common.
Well, from what I read, also he worked on that screenplay for 5 years, and there's a lot of footage. Like Tim Roth was in that, but he was cut. And I recently read that they're working on now a deal with Sony and Netflix to release it like they did on The Hateful Eight on Netflix, and it's going to be over 4 hours when it comes. So you see in 4 different chapters. Can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. There's not many filmmakers that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the next movie.
Right.
Tarantino's one of them. I just read how his 10th film is supposed to be like, they were like, what's it going to be about? And he said, it's going to tie all my films together like a locomotive. It's going to tie them all together. And people are like, huh?
That's impossible.
Yeah. I'm like, how are you going to put The Hateful Eight and Kill Bill together?
Yeah.
But apparently they're going to.
Well, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And let me ask you if you've seen this film, because it has always been my favorite movie, but after I saw that film, it's like, okay, that coin's in the air still, and I want to see. And it's nothing like it, and that is Seven Psychopaths.
I haven't seen that.
It doesn't look at all as cool, and it's comedy, to a great degree. But it's Christopher Walken. I'm a huge Christopher Walken fan.
Sure.
Chris is in it. Tom Waits is in it. Sam Rockwell's in it. I'm a huge Sam Rockwell fan.
Great guy.
Then you add Woody Harrelson and Colin Farrell.
Wow.
And he's a screenwriter. And he's writing a movie called Seven Psychopaths.
Is this new or old? Or?
10 years old.
I'll have to watch
8 to
that.
10 years old.
That's on my to-do list.
And let me tell you, it's a movie where 20 minutes in, I'm like, honey, I think we wasted our money. I'm sorry. I wanted to watch this movie,
Yeah.
And about 21 minutes in, you go, wait.
Yeah.
And then the second time you watch it, you're like, holy cow. I mean, that's a movie I've probably seen by showing people. I've probably seen 7 or 8 times. And every time I see it, it's funnier and funnier and funnier to me.
Well, I'll be watching
really
it then.
dig it. So
I'll
check
be watching
that one
it.
out. Have you done anything on the other side? Have you been directing or any other aspect of the film industry?
No, I did years and years and years ago. I did a short film, just because I wanted to try my hand at it. I had a vision. I actually did a couple of short films, but it just directing wasn't for me. It's just not my cup of tea.
How come?
I don't think I'm that meticulous. I'm that much of a planner. Even when I do films or commercials or whatnot, I always ask and try to leave it open to do some improv, some spur of the moment, off the cuff things. And directing is very you need to be. I don't want to use the word general, because I don't want to. I don't want to imply that, they're cracking whips, but you really have to be a take charge kind of every detail kind of guy. And I'm more like, let's just turn it on and see what happens.
Yeah. And I found that the thing about directing, as I've done just a little bit goofing off, with my own stuff, but it is, if you want to keep it open, you can really screw things up.
Sure.
So you have to know what you can and can't keep open, because you want to give the actors or the story that opportunity to breathe, but it can't screw up what you forgot you're shooting on another spot.
Sure.
Unless you have a script supervisor and somebody else over your shoulder telling you, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to remember it all.
Well, that's
a battle.
I've been humbled a couple of times when I was early on in acting, when I was younger. I used to think when I was in my early 20s, I thought, as the actor, I am the most important thing here.
Right.
And then I got a big commercial, and all the grips were there, and the big muscly guys, and they were building the sets and putting the lights up, and they were like, all right, look, monkey boy, don't screw anything up, okay? We've been here since 6 in the morning, and we'd really like to take lunch. And I realized I am the least important thing here, and that was good.
It is.
That was good. It was good to be humbled early on, and then I had the director on that. I kept doing, because I always improvise.
Right.
I was doing different takes. This is the final thing. The garage door goes up, and you look disappointed, and I was doing 10 or 12 different options, and the director was just sitting here looking at me like this, and everybody was laughing. Do another one. And finally, about the 12th one, the director goes, I don't know why we're doing this. We're not going to use any of this shit. And I was just like, okay, thank you. I'm done. Have a good day. I was humbled. I was like, wow, all right.
Well, and it's interesting because if he wants to cut between anything, they all need to be the same.
Yeah.
And you kind of learn that.
And I just thought, well, I am giving him so many options. And he was just looking at me like a toy winding down.
Well, musicians, and my whole career has been making records and producing records for people, at least for 30 years before I got into film at all. And I think that so many artists in general, have to be egocentric in a sense and self-aware, so they can get a little hyper-focused on themselves and their importance. It's not uncommon. And so an artist will complain about the record company screwing them and how this whole process is built against them, and they don't realize how big the wheel is that has to take their record to market.
Sure.
That when it's finally ready to go, it's like, dude, we don't care who the record is, because whoever it is getting this machine is going to get $3 million of promotion put behind them, and they're going to go on the road.
Yeah.
It's like the artist doesn't matter in the machine. So you're kind of lucky in the arts businesses if what you do gets that ride to a place where you can then express it and experience it and really receive the rewards of the effort you put in. Because that's not the common experience, man.
No, and I went to a casting workshop in L.A., and someone asked the casting director, and she cast for the CW. She was doing like Flash and Arrow and all the superhero shows. And they asked for every role, how many submissions do you get? How many people do you see? And she said, you have to realize if you land a role, how lucky you are. She said, because I see minimum for every role, 2,000 people. Wow. And then that gets handed off to production, and that has to get approved. And the producers and the directors have to approve it, and the network has to approve it. You don't know how lucky you are if you get all the way to that process. And, it's stiff competition, but I think it's good to be humble and to know where you lie. Don't get starstruck. You're there to do a job. Be prepared. Do it. Crush it. And say, thanks, everybody. They'll remember that more than, oh God, it's that guy.
Right.
Remember when we hired that idiot?
Right. Now you mentioned improv. When you're acting, have you had the opportunity where if you don't like the line, have you offered changes and have they been received well?
Sure. And there's a way to do that. You go, what if my guy did this, or would it be cool if maybe I try this, or you don't want to go and go, excuse me, Mr. Director, I have a suggestion.
I can fix this for you.
Let me, okay, there's a big problem here, and I have the answer. If you go into that way, you're going to get looked at like, why don't you go sit in your trailer? Mm-hmm. But you can say, what about this? Maybe try that. There's always a more humbled approach to take, and I think the doors will stay open for you.
How often has the interaction of the ensemble raised what you anticipated happening in the scene?
I think generally most of the time everybody's there, prepared, ready to go. I'll be honest with you. There were times that I've worked with big name people on big name projects, and I love when they kind of screw up, because then it takes the pressure off of me, because I'm very prepared.
Yeah.
And when they screw up, I go, oh, thank God.
The humanity of it.
Thank God they're human.
And sometimes they may do it, so they may even do it so everyone relaxes.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't even.
You ever seen anybody pull out?
Well, I did. Okay, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that,
sure.
too.
My first
what
scene, I'm there for a week, and I'm my first scene, they're like, sit here, you're in the interrogation room, and they put from you and I, Andre Braugher and Andy Samberg.
Right.
And I'm looking around thinking, what am I doing here? And there's 50 people in this room staring at you, and, giant cameras, and we're doing the scene, and I'm doing my stuff, and they're doing theirs, and they kind of screw up their lines, and I'm just like, oh, I keep hitting your table. I apologize.
It sounds
I'm
great.
just like, oh, thank God they screwed up. Now I don't feel so, like the pressure's off me, because I got my lines down. I'm ready to go.
Well, let me ask you, why do they screw up? Do they have so much going on in their world and their lives and 15 different shows that they just fed the lines 3 minutes ago? Or what's
they
the
have
deal?
a bigger chunk. They're working on this week's script. Maybe they're thinking about next week's script, and I'm like, I'm here this week. Mm-hmm. And Andy Samberg, very nice guy, but always flanked by two people, because not only is he the star, but he's also the producer. Mm-hmm. So he's got, more than enough on his plate, rather than me go, hey, so how's the weather? What do you think?
Now, in a show like that, what's the longest stretch you're shooting? 3 or 4 seconds usually? There's not a whole lot of camera following you around?
It depends, because they break up, the whole episode over days. Day one, they're like, you're going to be out on the back lot just shooting. Mm-hmm. We're going to shoot you like you're being surveillance. You're under surveillance by the FBI. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. And day 2, in the morning, we're shooting this scene, and then in the afternoon, we're going to shoot that scene. So you're going to be here at 11, you'll be wrapped by 1, then we need you back here at 6, and so it's all broken up. Mm-hmm. The longest shoot I had was when I did Yellowstone.
Okay.
And that was with the director Taylor Sheridan, who did Hell or High Water, and I think he did No Country for Old Men. Really like a super hot Western director. Mm-hmm. But he was directing it as well. And not only did he write it, he was also directing it. Okay. So it was his baby. And he was like, we're not leaving till we get what I want exactly how I want. And I was on season 2, the opening episode, where I have a bar, and my guys beat the hell out of Kevin Costner's kid.
Right.
And so they decided to come back with axe handles and beat my guys up, and then they let a live bull in the bar. And everybody was talking about that. That was great to see that on Twitter and everything. But, it's, I don't know. That guy really had a work ethic like I have never seen, because I was on that set for 16 hours, one day, 16 hours, and he was like, we're not leaving till we get it done, and I'm like, man,
because today's job is this scene.
4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I've been here since 11 a.m. You haven't got it yet? But he was just like, nope. And he was also an actor, so he knows both sides, in front of the camera and behind it. So he was not a perfectionist, but he knew what he wanted.
So you weren't working with Kevin Costner necessarily in that scene? In your scene?
No.
Because I've heard working with him that he loves to do 1,000 takes of his stuff as well.
I haven't heard that.
Really?
No.
I'd heard that the first time he worked with, what's his name as the director? Gosh, I'm getting old.
What was the film?
I'm not sure. The old guy, Clint Eastwood.
Clint
the
Eastwood.
Old guy.
Yeah.
And Clinton's more of a, you got the words right, the take's done.
Yeah.
I got what I want. It's more of the story, and if you're good, it's going to be fine.
Sure.
And in the film they were working together, I was told, I can't remember who told me the story, so if it's wrong, gosh, I apologize to everybody involved. But he said that Kevin did his line, one or two takes, and he was done. Let's go. And Kevin was like, "Oh no, I'm just getting started." He says, "No, we're done." And he said, "No, man, I need to do it again." And he said, "No, we're finished." He says, "Man, I'm not going to my trailer until you let me do it again."
Oh, jeez.
He went to the trailer. They struck the set. They set up the next set, and they shot it over his shoulder without him. Somebody else doing the lines. And they kept going until he came out to see what was going on. He said, "I'll rewrite the whole damn thing with you if you don't want to come out. I'm done with that." So we're done. And I don't know how accurate that is. But it represents the difference of styles of approach, because some directors, they set, you do it, they loved it, they're done, and then you've got this guy you're working with. It's like, I need to see
it might be tough for Kevin Costner because he also directed and was starring in what was it, Dances with Wolves?
Yeah.
And my God, how long that must have taken to film if he kept wanting to do it over and over again. So
I've only seen Yellowstone, like the first. I just started watching it. Mm-hmm. Everyone said, you got to watch it, you got to watch it. So I finally started watching it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So the episode you're talking about is the beginning of season 2.
Season 2
so
opener.
I'll get there and I'll watch for it.
Yeah, you'll see. I couldn't believe when they did that. Put a bull in the bar.
That's pretty good.
I couldn't believe that.
Well, listen, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to give you a break for a second. I'm going to spin a song. Again, another cut from Fervor Records. I want to come back and talk a little bit about some of these other crazy music names and on your credit list.
Sure.
And see how you kind of cross paths with those guys, and maybe a little bit more about your commercial work too.
Sure.
Cool, man. Thanks for being here. This is Sean Dillingham. I get to pick here on the Otto D Show. I'd like to spin a track for you, another Fervor Records cut, and this one is from Kubiku called "I Like It." Check it out.
More than anything I've ever seen. When I was a young lad, my mama told me, son, she said, you deserve the final things in life. So tell me, what's the best thing that you've ever seen? I'll tell you what you really, really want, yeah. I'll tell you what you need.
You're listening to Otto D, coming at you live.
Hey everybody, I'm your host, Otto Daniolo. Often, people I meet seem confused about what it is I actually do for a living. All I can say is grab my app. It's free in your app store. Just search Otto D, that's O-T-T-O-D, and then you'll have my whole story, from trumpet to guitar to platinum records and the movie business. In the app, you can stream my music, view a constantly updated concert schedule, and even land work on one of my projects, because that's where I post the job opportunities. You can also stream this podcast and stay on top of all the projects I'm involved in. Check it out and share it with the creative people in your life. Thanks for listening. Now, let's get back to the interview. How commercial is that? Isn't that cute?
I love it. Somewhere there's a singer in a soundstage going, and we like fried chicken. I went to school for this. Are you kidding me?
Actually, that's a cut off my last record.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's so pop sounding and it's just like jazz hands, you know.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch you being entertained by that. That was awesome. And then listen, actually, I just want to mention that song was called "I Like It" from Kubiku off of the Fervor Records catalog. And thanks, guys, that's awesome. And my guest tonight, Sean Dillingham.
Dillingham.
Dillingham. I say Willing. I don't know. Why did I say Willing? I think I got
Willingham.
stuck on the ham, and I went to Willing instead of Dilling. Where Dillingham? Is it Scottish or English? Or
English. I did the whole family tree thing, and they're like, "Yeah, you did that DNA thing." They're like, "Yeah, you're
a Dilling.
You're white." There you go. You want a certificate for it?
You always been.
You came from England, like all the other white people.
All right, so there it is, Sean Dillingham here on the Otto D Show this evening. And listen, you every time we play a song, you know, where we have a split second where we're not talking on mic, we're talking off mic about some great stuff that I want to get into too. But before we jump into all that, I was looking at on your website about some names that you worked with, and I see things like Patti Loveless and Belinda Carlisle and Rick Springfield and the Doobie Brothers, and Loretta Lynn and Casey and the Sunshine Band. So obviously you've been a background singer on tour with some of these guys.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
So what's the connection to all this stuff?
I did some opening act stuff for them when they would come through town. I would be hired over there at Celebrity Theater and go out there as the stand-up comedian and do 15 or 20 minutes, warm them up
during your improv days.
Yeah,
that we're not going to say.
Yeah,
that's
like when I walked out to Rick Springfield, 3,000 screaming women, and I had to go. Listen, ladies, I am not Rick Springfield. I hear a mass crowd. Oh shit! But it was fun. It was fun, yeah. It was great to be able to, work with those folks and see how they work and have that opportunity. Work with some people like, my God, Loretta Lynn, to work with, the First Lady at country.
Did you have an opportunity to visit with her?
Yeah. She was nice. Belinda Carlisle, that was an interesting story. I don't want to knock anybody.
I tell you what we'll do. Let's just change the name. We'll call her Susie Willis, and let's just tell the story.
To be backstage, and when they drop the guard and they're not in an interview, and then they walk out of their dressing room and they say something crass like, "Who farted?" And I'm like, "Wow, there goes the image right there." Jeez Louise.
That's funny. I actually saw Belinda Carlisle play because I was into the opening band for her concert, and I went to this see a band called Bourgeois Tag back in the day. I don't know if you remember them, but anyway, when we were walking out before they came on, the security tried to stop us. "If you leave, you can't come back." And I was like, "I know. We saw what we came to see. We paid our money for the opening act.
Could you move?
Please, we're done here." But anyway.
I got to be the opening act for some of those folks, and that was fun. I wish they would have told me at Celebrity Theater when I did it the first time that the stage moves, because I'm standing on stage going, "Is the crowd moving or am I having a stroke? What is happening?"
What's happening?
Yeah.
And then you look at somebody and they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
That's a very weird experience.
How'd you get on my left?
Yeah, that's a
and
very
Rick Springfield, man, let me tell you, that guy can put on one hell of a show.
And he's still performing.
He was rocking it, and at one point he goes midway up the room, and he stands up on the back of the seats, and of course he's being held up by every woman in the building, and walks 360 degrees on the back of the chairs all the way around "You gotta love somebody," and then gets back on stage. I'm like, I'm tired just watching you. Are you kidding me?
Well, I've had a chance to play on that stage, and the weird thing is, if you leave the stage,
the
ramp isn't where it was when you come back. I mean, the ramp doesn't take you back to the same place. So you got to come back after the whole thing turns around again.
Yeah.
If you're coming on and off of that stage, that's a really, really strange experience. Now, since we're on that topic real quick, you actually still teach. You're a teacher as well. And you
I
teach improv.
teach stand-up and I teach improv. Improv is my go-to. Best acting tool ever. Ever. Because, especially for commercial work, any kind of acting, I've worked with both actors, improv actors, method actors, and a lot of times, especially on commercial shoots, if a director comes up to you and he's like, okay, I need you to be sad, and you have an actor that's like, okay, sad, all right. What transpired that made me sad? What happened prior to this moment that made me sad? Am I sad because, okay, cut! They don't have time for that, and with improv, you can go, be sad, oh my God, or be happy, you can get into it.
You can be sad that you don't know why you're sad.
Yeah, you can get into it in a split second in improv, and that's just to have that flexibility. For me, it's sort of like the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do way of acting. Just always flexible, fluid, be like water. You know what I mean? And it's always worked well for me.
Now, did you start with your acting career before or after you were doing stand-up?
Oh, way before. Way before. I wanted to be an actor when I was in the 6th grade. I saw my first Gene Kelly movie, Singing in the Rain, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Like, that's a job to pay you?
Oh, my gosh. And
so are you a dance man? Do you dance?
I used to. About 70, 80 pounds ago, I used to dance. Now I'm like, I get winded going to the dance floor.
Right.
But I saw that, and then I got into school plays, high school, and then community theater, then semi-professional theater. And then I realized I really like performing, but rehearsing was killing me. You do a stage play, and it's 8 weeks of rehearsal, 4 weeks of performances, and I was like, and it's really the director's medium. Okay, Otto, you're going to say your line, then you're going to cross, and you're going to stand there. Why am I doing that? Because I told you to, idiot. Now go over there. And
it will be revealed.
Yeah,
or changed.
Because it's my show, and do what you're told. Okay.
That's right.
And then a lot of the actors that I knew were like, well, why don't you try improv? And I was like, well, what's improv? Well, that's kind of like, Saturday Night Live. They make up skits. They just kind of make it up in the moment. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Sounds like less prep work.
And I love the fact that, you have a game that has sort of a little bit of rules and structure, but then within that game, whatever you want to do. There's no mistakes in improv, just opportunities to do new things. And I loved that. That was so freeing. And from there, a lot of the improv people that I knew were involved in stand-up, so you sort of, evolved into doing that, and I did that for a while, and then that got a little, boring. And
well, before it did, you were on all kinds of TV shows.
Yeah.
America's Funniest People.
Yeah, that was early on.
Star Search.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah, you did all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had one massively successful stand-up career before you kind of said, well, I'm worn out on this. I want to do something more
And that's what I like about acting so much. And everybody asks me, why'd you stop stand-up? Because I got bored.
Yeah.
And I like acting because it keeps my attention. I don't get bored because this week you're going to be a disc jockey. Next week you're going to be working in a soda machine. The week after that you're going to be a killer. The week after that you're going to be a cop. I mean, it's always different.
Right.
And as, not to sound too hoity-toity, but as an artist, you like that. You like to be pushed and grow. And that's what I want to continue to do.
Is it difficult to be in 3 projects at the same time where you're dramatically different characters?
Yes, it was. And I'm a little hesitant to ever bite off that again. That was a lot. 3 movies in 3 weeks.
Because you got to kind of get your head back around what you're doing.
Yeah,
and who
you
you're
got
doing
3
it with
different scripts and 3 different, and I'm like, whoa, what did I do? But I want to do so much that I don't ever want to stop acting. I don't ever want to be not acting. I'll land something or I'll get an audition for something, and my wife will be like, why don't you enjoy it? And I'm like, because I got to submit for more stuff. And it's to the point now where I'm doing 3 and 4 projects a month.
Yeah.
Just because I'm hustling and I'm willing to get in a rental car and go.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. A lot of people don't get that. They just think it happens.
Right.
And I'm like, it doesn't just happen. You have to hustle. You have to move. You have to push it. And you have to have the kind of dedication of nothing else matters. If I get a call to be in L.A., I go.
Right.
And that's what you have to do.
Yeah. I understand that and agree completely. You've got some projects coming up. You've got one coming out first of the year called the Manson Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this one.
Directed by Max Martini, who he has a movie out, I think, on Netflix right now called Sergeant Will Gardner. He was also in Pacific Rim, Saving Private Ryan, and What a storyline. Man, it's about professional wrestlers from the 1980s that are still trying to make money off their name now. And through a series of events, maybe a few people turn into zombies, and there's some fighting. It's got D.B. Sweeney and Randy Couture in it, and it was so fun, and he was so great to work with. Everybody was so welcoming. I auditioned for 3 or 4 different characters, and I was always, I put on like a cape with fur and heart-shaped sunglasses. I was like, all right, brother, let me tell you what we're going to do. And he told me, he said, I hired you because, man, I saw everything you did, and I thought, man, there's nothing this guy won't do.
Yeah.
And then they hired me. The role I got was a character named Big Wang. And I'm like, it's supposed to be an Asian guy. And they're like, you're going to do it.
You're
going to do it.
It's funnier that it's you.
And every time I talk to those guys, they're always like, what's up, Wanger? What's happening, Big Wang? And then I found out after the fact they told me they were working on a sequel. And I was like,
that's exciting.
I know how the movie ends. How are we doing a sequel? And they said, well, what we're going to do is we want to do sort of like American Horror Story. Every season, same cast, different story. We're going to do that.
Interesting.
And I was like, yeah, we are.
That's
Heck
fantastic.
yeah.
When is that planned to happen?
The sequel, or when's the movie
sequel?
coming out? In 2020.
Okay.
Sometime in 2020.
Sometime, right now.
Yeah. Right now, they took Manson Brothers to Cannes Film Festival, sold it, and man, I can't wait. They said they already got it edited. They're working on the colorization and everything for it, and I just can't wait to see that.
And just for people who don't understand, they're in that process now. When were you done with the project?
3 months ago, 4 months ago. That's the thing. That's the one sort of, I don't want to say drawback, but you get instant feedback, instant gratification in a live show, stand-up, improv, theater. With film acting, television acting, you do it, and then you forget it and you move on. And then they contact you 9 months later, and they're like, hey, it's coming out. And you're like, was I in that? That's right. Yeah. So,
well, it's got to be kind of fun then to watch with one eye and try to remember what it was you did.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, wow, I thought
it was better.
That was going to come out better. Good Lord.
Have you ever been just horrified by the way they edited something?
Oh, sure.
Where you're like, no, it was so much better than what you
You're
just
like,
did.
wow, could you do me a favor? Could you just go ahead and edit me out of that? That would be great.
You took my worst bits. Or there you go, where your part was great and the rest of the movie was awful because you never know the rest of the film.
Well, I always see a film that way. My part was great. The rest of the crap was... No, there's some that, there. And listen, I've been lucky to have dodged some bullets.
Right.
Because I've auditioned for some things that I'm like, I really want to be in this. And then I see it and I go, oh, thank God. There's a reason for everything.
Isn't that wild, though?
I auditioned, and I was in the running for a local commercial. So I won't tell you the product or anything, but I couldn't make it. The callback was on a certain date. I was going to be in Los Angeles. I couldn't be there, and much to the chagrin of my agent at the time, I was like, I can't be there, but they really wanted me, and I missed it, and I saw the commercial. My wife looked at me and went, thank God you weren't in that. I'm like, amen. Amen to that. Oh, That was so bad. And some of them.
It's a heartbreak when you're in something and you don't know. I mean, I remember watching, I think it was De Niro doing a late night show about a movie he was in, and he was having a hard time telling you it was a good movie or go see it. And I don't remember what the film was, but I knew that, he's really not very happy about it.
Are they like, hey, you got a clip? I guess so. What's it about? I don't know. What happens in it? We'll find out. I'm going to watch it with you.
Exactly. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh, you mentioned something. You said your agent, but I'm aware you have more than one.
Yeah, I have 5 agents, actually.
5. How do they separate your time or their territories?
Well,
how do you
here's
deal with
the thing. Thank goodness we live in the age of what's called self-tapes. That's where I have a studio in my home that I have a camera and lights and everything set up so that if I get an audition, I just get a reader, my wife, one of my kids, and they read off camera with me. I film it. I send it straight into the casting director. That's how it works nowadays. Gone are the days of having to stuff a VHS tape in a manila envelope and take 20 of those down to the post office or drive out to L.A. Now it's all computerized. And they can see it right there and make their decisions. So thank goodness for that.
Watching your on your website, which is essentially yourname.com,
Sure.
SeanDillingham.com, without the W. Your commercial reel is funny.
Yeah.
The Bosa
Thank
Donuts is great. Pure Chat, which opens it.
Yeah.
I want to see the rest of that.
That was
'cause I've
all
never seen that.
improvised too.
I wondered.
Yeah.
I wondered how much of that you created
Yeah.
for the reel.
The thing when at the end, the owner of the company was on set, and I go, pure Chat, eh? Hey, pure genius. And he was like, I'm using that. Oh.
Well, that was a great piece.
Yeah,
I wanted
that
to
was
see
fun.
more of that character, and I also liked the bet line. That's the one where you pull out of you pull over. Yeah.
Shot that up in Vegas.
Yeah, that was a great
funny.
one.
And that was.
I love how you kept shaking your hair.
Yeah, like, oh, what's up? Rock and roll. Like I was Def Leppard.
Yeah.
That was so funny because the one that they finally used was at the end of the day, the last take.
Oh, really?
And they were like, what do you want to do? You want to do something? And I said, yeah, because it was very stiff up to that
Yeah.
point. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this like Kurt Russell acted in Big Trouble in Little China.
Exactly what it was. That's
I was
exactly
like,
what it was.
All right, here's the deal. I'm not saying I've been everywhere and I've done everything. You know, a little hair shake. And they were like, that's what we wanted. I'm
That
like,
was hilarious.
why do you say that at 11?
Well, but it's funny. Sometimes they don't know what they want. They know what they know the impact they want to
That's
feel.
the great thing about
and
improv.
They can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They see it on paper and then you do it and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, it's a little stiff. Well, how would you do it? Well, can I show you?
Yeah.
And then
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I always try to do that. I try to go into every project, every scene, every line with a couple of options. It's always good to have options. Same thing with an audition. You know, you don't go in with just what they've written on the script. You say this and that's it and that's how they want it. I always go in going, well, I'm going to say what they wrote and then I'm going to try it this way and I'm going to try it this way or ask if they want to see it this way or see it that way. Because you may do something that they go, huh, we didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I like that better. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
So you always have to have options.
Right.
It's good to give somebody some options.
So now some other stuff you've got coming up. You've got a film called Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake.
Tell me about this one.
Yeah, that was cool. That was directed by a guy named Zach Hilditch. He did a film. It's on Netflix called I believe it's called 1922.
Okay.
Very Stephen King, The Shining kind of movie. And I saw that and I was like, whoa. And when I found out he was directing it, I was like, yeah. Carmen, I think her last name is Iojo. She was in Aliens Covenant. And it's the story of a lady who, I don't want to give away too much, but her daughter winds up getting bit by a rattlesnake. And then this old medicine woman heals her and she's getting pursued by a guy, sort of Rutger Hauer style, like The Hitcher. Remember that movie? And I'm the doctor that she comes in and sees at the hospital, and I'm taking care of her and her daughter. And I'm like, look, if your kid was bit by a rattlesnake, she'd be in ICU. Trust me. And we're looking at her, and there's not a mark on her. So either there was a miracle, or you were full of it, lady. And so that was fun to do that. He was a cool director too, very laid back. He was the Otto of film directors.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
But that reminds me, I mean, working with different directors, some I would imagine are a bit eccentric, and some, like you say, know exactly what they want. And
Most know exactly what they want. Most do. Some are, maybe they have just a different work ethic. Like I said, Taylor Sheridan was like, we are not leaving. I don't care if the sun comes up or not. We're staying until we get it exactly how I want it. And others, you do 2 or 3 takes, like you said, with Kevin Costner, and you have to understand as an actor, and you better learn it now, the magic happens in the editing.
It does.
You can do it, and they're like, and then you say it all the time. We'll fix it in post. We got it. We'll fix it, and you have to be like, okay, they got it. You can't be like, excuse me, sir.
Right.
I have not expressed myself properly as this character. We got it.
Yeah, in music we used to say, we'll fix it in the mix, which never happens.
Yeah.
And you can't do it.
Yeah.
But you can do it in editing.
Sure.
And I have found that in one take where no line was delivered right, the face in between the lines was incredible. And so that's what we're going to use while she's talking.
Sure.
And then we're going to come back to your line. I mean, it's amazing what you find, even before and after take, if camera's rolling, what you can find in character relief and expression.
That's truly where the magic happens,
Yeah.
because what they can do with lighting and colorization and music and pause and slow it down, and you're just like,
oh man, and these
you
days,
see it and you go, I don't remember shooting that.
And a trick I learned because I'm like, I am not a camera guy, and I'm doing low budget where I am the camera guy. So I'm like, can I borrow somebody's camera, and how do I set this up? You know, And then the rack focus is this beautiful thing that focuses your attention. And so I'm thinking, oh, too bad. I wish I could have pulled that off. But I learned in post a great way to do it by laying one over the other and blurring it and crossfading between them. And it looks like you're pulling off rack focus. It's pretty cool. So
nice.
I want to try that
There
since
you
I'm
go.
very good at editing. But anyway, another one you got coming out. You did your first game trailer. Wasteland 3.
Wasteland 3, and I didn't know anything about it. Wasteland was a game back, I believe, in the 80s. And then they came out again, I think it was in 2002, they made Wasteland 2. And people were like, whoa, thank you. They're like the Zelda of role-playing games. Or maybe Zelda's, I don't know, I'd have to ask my kids.
Right.
And then there was a lot of outcry to make with all the computer graphics, the way they have it now. They were like, please make it now. And so they did a fundraising campaign, and I think in a couple days or a week, they raised $3 million. Yeah, to do Wasteland 3, and they said we want to go old school with it. We don't want to just do like the opening trailer that kind of sets the tone. We don't want to just do a computer animation. So they hired actors. They had sets and vehicles and everything. I went up to Colorado to shoot that. And that was, man, when that comes out, let me tell you, that thing looks sick. I was in this big truck, and I don't even know if I can give away my name in it, but it was. I just want to talk about it so bad.
When's it going to be out? When are you going to be free to talk
They
about
have told
it?
me like November, December should come out
This year.
Yeah.
They want to hit the Christmas rush.
Wasteland 3. Cool. They announced that it just won RPG of the year, and I'm like, game's not even out. How can it win? And they're like,
Goes to the critics first.
They've seen all the gameplay and whatnot in it, and I saw a few clips, and I was like, wow. So, but the trailer looks
awesome.
So sick. And when I saw it, it was one of those things, when I saw the script and the storyboard, I was like, I am so glad to be doing this. Because I'll tell you off the air, but it's...
Have you been involved in any of the game filming before? A lot of these games go into the acting scenes. They shoot with actors, and they shoot it 15 different ways depending on how you've been playing the game.
No, this was the first one. This was the first one.
But you're not involved in the game. This is just the trailer.
Just the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd love to do that. They did tell me they want me to do some of the voices for the game. So that'll be, because I can always go, all right, we're going to Pueblo, Colorado. And I can kind of do some of the voices and stuff. So.
I got to record Waylon Jennings on the two Sony PlayStation games for Dukes of Hazzard because he was the balladeer in the show. So they had him read the parts in the game part. So that was kind of fun.
Nice
to record him doing that, because he had to have a million. There's a million ways the game can turn. So you have to say all these different things based on what the player is doing. It's kind of a fascinating process.
Don't go there.
Yeah,
cut.
Exactly. And so let me ask you about a couple more. We're going to be running out of time here, but one is Better Call Saul.
Yeah, that's out in September.
Okay.
That's I think season 5.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the show, but I've seen the ads for it.
Yeah, good show. Prequel to Breaking Bad. So I was thrilled to be part of it finally.
And is it a potential recurring character or?
No, just a one shot off. And but it was fun. All my scenes were with Bob Odenkirk, and you see me throughout. And that was another big production. 150 people. I thought they were
Isn't
messing.
That wild?
I thought they were messing with me from the get-go, because usually you get a call time. You need to be there at 5 a.m. You need to be there at 5:30. You need to be there at 5:45. They were like, you need to be there at 5:18. I'm like, are you screwing with me? That's a very odd call. Are you saying that just to see if I'm paying attention?
Yeah, is this a measure?
And let me tell you, if you want to be an actor, you better resign yourself to the fact that you have now got to be an early morning person. Because I shot that in Albuquerque. I was staying in Santa Fe. I was shooting Manson Brothers at the same time. And I shot them for a week, and they were like, on Monday you go do Better Call Saul, and then you come back to Santa. I'm like, okay. And I'm driving there, and it's this light outside.
Right.
It's completely pitch black, and I just thought, what is going on? I get dressed, I got my costume on, and I've had breakfast, and they're like, we're going to take you to set now. And I'm like, it's still dark outside. What's going on? So that was fun. But again, a huge crew, 150 people. The director's walking back and forth. There's always 8 people following him, and so.
How about this one? There's Johnny.
There's Johnny. That was fun. That was by Paul Reiser, and that was about the early days of the Tonight Show. They did one season of that. I got to work with Tony Danza, Roger Bart. I forget the actor's name, but he was the dad on That 70s Show.
Oh, right.
Stocky guy, curly hair.
Yeah.
He was in it as well, and I got to play the stage director. So I'm sitting there with a microphone, and I'm like, all right, Otto, turn your camera, start filming famous people. And they, like, you turn toward the writers. I'm like, who the hell is this? Famous people. I'm throwing my cigarettes at him. Put it on famous people. What are you doing? Who the hell are they?
That's funny.
So that was fun. They were all really, really cool to work with, and it was fun to shoot in L.A. to do that. And Paul Reiser got unprecedented access to the Carson Library. Never before have they done that. So you got to see all the behind-the-scenes footage of it. Great show. There's Johnny.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, really, really cool. That was a fun audition, too, because I went out there dressed like it was 1970 with my polyester striped pants on and my cocoa-colored leather dress jacket on, and they called my agent after. God, he was funny. So that was fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting into writing? Have you written anything yet? Are you thinking about it?
You know, I have ideas.
Stories
I have
in the works?
ideas for films, like 7, 8 ideas, but I just, like I'm a director, I just can't sit down and type it out. I've told people the general ideas, and they're like, you should write that. And I'm like,
Hey, you got to find a screenwriter who likes the story.
I should get somebody to write that.
Because then it's the story based on the story
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
so you still have some rights to the story, even
Yeah.
though they write the screenplay. Who would you like to work with that you haven't worked with? Is there an actor you've always wanted to be up against or in a scene with?
Yeah, a couple of them. They may be, it may seem obscure, but really would like to work with Richard Dreyfuss.
Okay.
I saw him in the 70s, The
Right.
Goodbye Girl.
Right.
And he was so not what an actor was supposed to be. Short, chubby, beard, glasses, but his personality, his acting took over the screen. And I was like, man, he is awesome. And then another one is...
He's always been completely believable to me
Yeah.
in the character.
Yeah.
He is. Just always. You never think about Richard Dreyfuss. You
Even
always
if
think
you look
about
at
the
his stuff,
character.
Close Encounters.
Yeah.
When they're like, he would like to know if you've ever had an alien encounter of any kind. And he's looking and he goes, who are you people?
Right. Yeah,
What's
he's
going on?
yeah,
So
I agree.
believable.
Yeah.
You know who's another one like that? Another actor I'd love to work with? John Lithgow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I saw him
Absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
Garp and The Twilight Zone when he was like, there's a man on the wing of this plane. I was just like, oh, my. And to see him, he can play strong. Like when he was in Dexter, the psychopathic
I was just going
killer.
to ask you about that.
Yeah, when he
because
was-
when he took over that season as the bad guy, that's the first time they had a season-long bad guy. It was usually
Yeah.
episodic.
Yeah.
When he did that, and
Oh.
I knew he was going to be the
Trinity.
bad guy, I was like, no.
Trinity.
I don't want him to be this bad guy all season long. And man,
And he-
after the first episode, you're like, oh my God.
I sure hope Dexter kills him. He was fantastic.
He was
But you see
awesome.
his work where he can be a stone cold killer, or you see him in Harry and the Hendersons.
I know.
When he expresses that emotion, to see a man express that when he hits the Bigfoot and he's like, go. I'm like, oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. It's just that,
Yeah, it's really, really great.
A lot of I hate to say it, but a lot of male actors don't get those kind of roles where they get to express that kind of emotion,
Yeah.
and it's great.
I remember just the little scene in 2010 where they're arguing about pie, easy as pie. No, it's easy as cake. Piece of cake, piece of pie. And they're going
You
back
wanna
and
hear,
forth. Talking about mustard on which hot dog, at which
Yeah.
time of the year.
Want to hear a funny little almost there? 2 opportunities. John Lithgow, Robin Williams. John Lithgow, I was at the Hollywood Improv performing stand-up back in the day, and a lady saw me and contacted the club to get a hold of her, and I contacted them, and I called, and they were like, NBC casting? I'm like, what is going on? Who? I'm looking for Julie. Hold on. I go, ma'am, who is Julie? She's vice president of casting. I'm like, whoa. She said she saw me at the Hollywood Improv, wanted to bring me in for a meeting. I'm in my 20s. I don't know what the hell that means. I go in with my dress suit on, and I'm like, if hired, I will be prompt. I will take only allotted breaks. And I left. Nothing happened. A week later, I follow up. I go, what was that all about? She goes, oh, I was so disappointed. I wanted to see that personality I saw at the Improv, and you were just so... And I go, she goes, well, if you're ever in town, and I'll come see you, and you were funny. And I go, were you looking at me for something in particular? She goes, oh, yeah, I had a part on Third Rock from the Sun I was looking at you for. And I was like, I probably shouldn't have asked that. I could have lived the rest of my life without knowing that. And then I worked with a comic, a good friend of mine who was producing shows up in Mill Valley at the Throckmorton Theater. And Robin Williams would perform there all the time. And this headliner was like, if you come, I want you to come up and do my show. And I will call Robin, and I'll give you a microphone. You can go through the audience and improvise, and we'll do improv with Robin. And I was like, I should. I never did. And I regret that to this day.
That would have been something special.
Yeah.
Sean, the music's coming. The show's over.
Well, that's awkward. Pretty obvious there, Otto.
I just don't want to hear any more of your stories. I'm kind of just tired of this. Wow, an hour went by.
Like that.
I know, man. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So if people want to reach out to you or find you, I guess the best way is SeanDillingham.com.
Just leave me alone.
Just leave him alone, people. Watch him on TV.
Just watch me on TV in the movie theater.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, man.